On the heels of their clash in MLS action, St. Louis City and Real Monarchs in MLS Next Pro action arrive in the Gateway City for Match Week 22 play. Welcome inside Energizer Park, along with our broadcast team, Jake Griffith. Glad to have you alongside us. St. Louis City are trying to get their season back on track. They did snap their four-match losing skid with the draw last week against Vancouver Whitecaps, but struck first, could not hang on for all 3 points. Ended up dropping the shootout 5-3. As for Real Monarchs, they've fallen on some hard times these last few weeks. Injury woes starting to pile up for this RSL affiliate side. They have lost back-to-back matches, including a narrow one at the hands of Portland Timbers 2. Last time out, a 66th minute penalty did Monarchs in to give them back-to-back losses on their record. A chance to take a look at how these sides line up. First, for St. Louis CITY2 and second-year manager David Critchley, it is a 3-4-3, emulating that of what we see at MLS under Yohan Damme for the St. Louis City SC organization. A number of personnel changes and a number of first-team faces in this 11. Palmer Alt returns after away for 5 matches. Makai Joyner will make his return to MLS Next Pro, just the 4th time that Joyner has seen action in MLS Next Pro this year. But all eyes are on Tyson Pierce there on the right side of that 3-4-3 in the midfield. David Critchley said earlier this week that he was expecting Tyson Pierce to get significant minutes as he continues to move back to that full fitness. As for Mark Lowry and Real Monarchs, they go with the 4-4-2. At times, it might look like a 4-4-1-1 with those two strikers stacked up top, and that is where our focus is for this Monarch side. Luka Moisa starting next to Felix Awalt. Mark Lowry was pretty open this week. He said that they weren't sure if Moisa was going to get a chance to give it a go. Was feeling a little under the weather, but they get Moisa in. Kobe Henry will wear the captain's armband. He will slot in on that back line, that back four that, due to some injuries, has been somewhat remade this year. But this Monarch side are trying to get on the score sheet for the first time in club history away from home against St. Louis. They've also never won away from home against St. Louis CITY2. The whistle sounds, and we are underway here on this Sunday evening in St. Louis, Missouri. It's Real Monarchs in the all-white, CITY2 in the traditional all-navy kits. St. Louis are back at home. The 11th time this year they have taken the pitch here at Energizer Park. 30, 12, and 15 all-time records since this venue opened in 2023. They did split some time during the inaugural MLS Next Pro season on the campus of SIUE. As this one back in behind, seeking Sidney Paris, who runs it down. Paris cuts it over. Miguel Perez, just his second MLS Next Pro action of 2026. And we get a whistle for a stoppage and a very early yellow handed out. Laura Rodriguez is our center referee this evening here in the Show Me State. And that will be a first booking. Zach Lillington will go into the book of Laura Rodriguez, who Zach Lillington at least wearing the captain's armband today for the St. Louis side. Monarchs will turn this one upfield. A booming ball will instead find the boundary line, and that is where Colin Welsh will get things squared away for a goal clearance to resume play. Welsh with Lucas McPartlin away on international duty with the US U19 side, who were victorious, to say the least, in Group A play at the CONCACAF U20 Championships down in Mexico. Won Group A, moved on to the quarterfinals as the number 1 seed. Minnesota United netminder Kane Rizvanovic getting a couple starts in that tournament during group play, where the U.S. went unbeaten, picked up 9 points, and they will move on to the quarterfinal round. Playback underway off the throw-in. Lionel DeGiro able to come up with it and win it back for Real Monarchs, who had a rough go of it away from home this year, just 2 wins. They are coming into this contest on a 5-match winless skid away from home. Here's Sydney Paris, takes a tumble, and that'll draw a very brief whistle from Laura Rodriguez, and St. Louis quickly resuming play. Last time these teams met was a year ago. First meeting of 2026, the only meeting of 2026, and St. Louis have had great success, all-time 6-0-0 mark, but especially recently outscoring Monarchs 9-1 in the last 270 minutes of football played in this abbreviated series. Paris elects to peel this one back over to Andrew DeGans, who makes start number 13 after being acquired in March of this year. Now here's Max Kirkvliet, the 20-year-old, 14 starts, 15 appearances now in net for this Monarch side. 43 saves, a clean sheet, stopping just about 65% of the shots that he's faced. 21st overall pick in the Super Draft out of UConn back in 2025. Left off, now funneled back through. Trying to run onto it is Sydney Paris. The 23-year-old from Canada will do exactly that. Couldn't step inside on the defender, and appeals for a foul go unanswered. These clubs were in action, these organizations at least were in action in this venue just about 24 hours ago. RSL and St. Louis playing to a 1-1 stalemate in that one. Makai Joyner, Miguel Perez, Palmer Alt, all on the bench in that contest. Alt did come on for his 4th MLS appearance. Played just 1 minute as a second-half sub. All 4 of those appearances coming since making his MLS debut against Sporting Kansas City back earlier in July. Stoppage ushered for by Laura Rodriguez, and that will bring things to a halt here in St. Louis. Monarchs coming in off the narrow loss at the hands of Portland Timbers. More on that in a moment. Zach Zinge going to ground and winning it back for St. Louis. The recent acquisition on the loan from Columbus Crew. And Laura Rodriguez will award a free kick here to St. Louis. CITY2, they've been strong on their set pieces these last few weeks in this season overall. 6th most set piece goals scored in MLS Next Pro, scored off a free kick in their 2-1 loss against Portland Timbers. They've scored set-piece goals against Ventura County, Tacoma. Lofted in, the heads go up, popped over to the near post. Pierce puts it back into play, and Kirkvliet will camp underneath it to make the grab. Going back to Monarchs, coming in off the narrow loss against Portland Timbers. Had a chance to catch up with Mark Lowry, the 3rd-year manager of this Monarch side, earlier in the week, and he said it's a really competitive game. Loved the way his team came out with energy and intensity in that contest. Said the message was, it's a difficult place to play. Let's go in there, let's grind out a draw, but was disappointed with what he called a soft penalty his team conceded in that contest. It was the only goal, the 66th minute penalty that Portland Timbers converted on. Biggest message for Lowry coming into this contest to his team earlier in the week was, we just have to have more of a mentality of finding ways to win games. He said lately they found ways to lose games. The performances have been good, the outcomes just haven't been there. Whether it's not keeping a compact enough shape, conceding set pieces late in games. Here's Mekhi Joyner, will turn on it forward. Second leading scorer on this St. Louis team, despite only seeing 3 appearances so far in 2026. Does have 4 goals. Mekhi Joyner, 32 goals in his last 45 MLS Next Pro appearances. For the former Golden Boot runner-up back in 2024, best 11 selection. MLS Next Pro in his career. Here's Paris, the former Wake Forest Demon Deacon. City 2 bunching up a little bit in the midfield, but now they'll progress through. Paris. Still Paris now has that ball on a string. Tucks it over to Miguel Perez, the St. Louis City SC homegrown. Alex Junt will switch it. Now worked in behind, and that pass out of reach. Monarchs come away unscathed, and they will have a goal kick. Counter is on here for St. Louis. Junt weaving through defenders. DeGans will keep the possession alive. City 2 now retreating just a bit. Here's the captain, Zach Lillington. To Owen Jorgensen. 7th start of Jorgensen's young career out of the St. Louis City Academy. Turning on this counter are Monarchs. They have options. To the right they go. DeGiro is in. Tries to sidestep one, and too many moves on that final line of defense. And Paro knocks it along out wide, changing the point of the attack are the Monarchs. And St. Louis holding firm. Kirk Vliet will come out way away from his home and goal to collect. Turns it forward to Chris Rios, the Nevada native, 16 years old, from the RSL Academy. Moisa shoved off the ball initially. City 2 will pick up the pieces in the midfield. Moisa tries to go forward with this one. And once more, City 2, the bend but don't break attitude adopted. Getting back quickly, providing numbers in behind. They do get a throw in out of it and quickly put back into play by the home side. Lofted forward now, Monarchs breaking out in behind in transition, trying to pick out the far corner. And whittling that one wide. A good look, though, on the move for Mark Lowry's side, a team that, despite some of the recent struggles on the offensive side, they have looked good in transition through large stretches of 2026. Trying to force St. Louis into a turnover. CITY2 will steer that one safely back to Colin Welsh. 9th start of the year for Welsh, the 67th overall pick in last year's Super Draft. Spent some time collegiately, Memphis, Western Michigan, and now off to the races is St. Louis. Lillington sticks the foot in, wins it back, now has a hit from distance. That'll go sailing, lofting into the seats and out of play. Early on, less than 15 minutes in, it's been some one-way traffic on this end of things. St. Louis, they do have just one shot, but 64% possession as things will be brought to a stoppage. Amparo now in his 4th season with Rail Monarchs, 14th start of 2026, puts that ball back into play. Now another whistle for a stoppage. Here's Tajero, weaving in and out of traffic here on this attacking end. And we get another whistle for a foul. Make that 2 consecutive. The native of the Ivory Coast, Lionel Tajero, ushered over to have a talk with Laura Rodriguez. Contest has already seen a number of fouls, already a booking. Zach Lillington going into the book and will carry that yellow through the duration of this fixture. St. Louis, we touched on it at the top of the broadcast. They enter off the draw shootout loss against Vancouver Whitecaps at this venue a week ago. Now Lillington dragged down. David Critchley, he said that, yes, the result didn't slant in their favor, but they went back, they looked at the game data the next day. And he said St. Louis's field tilt was exceptionally high. They finished with 29 shots in that contest, 13 shots on target, and 40 touches in the penalty area. Really dominated the tenor of that contest. Also love that their passes per defensive action metric hovered right around that 9-10 range, which is sort of where the St. Louis CITY2 coaching staff wants it to be. But in first half stoppage time, Daniel Echeverria able to pounce on a ball dropped into the penalty area and slot it past Colin Welsh. That put the contest on level terms where it would stay the rest of the way. And David Critchley, he said that has been somewhat of the story these last few weeks. Not clearing a ball when this team needs to, not being first to the punch, and it's been reflected in some of the results. And he said that you can get frustrated with those results, but from a metric standpoint, from a performance standpoint, from some of the goals they want to accomplish, they have been ticking some of those boxes. DeGero, a bit too heavy of a touch to push it out in front of him, and that is where Colin Welsh will scoop things up. Monarchs will get a throw in over on that far touchline. It's just one win in the last 5 fixtures for this Real Monarchs side, looking to avoid their second 3+ match losing skid of 2026. Lost 4 straight from April 12th through May 10th earlier this year. A loss today with those back-to-back losses coming in would make it losing streaks of 3 or more matches for the first time in a single season since 2024. As a squad, though, yes, we talked about the injuries for Real Monarchs as Mark Lowry looks on there on this near touchline, but they've also had to deal with what a number of MLS Next Pro teams have dealt with this year, which is players graduating out of this second-team environment and moving up on a full-time basis. Even before the season started, players like an Aiden Hezarkhani really asserting themselves as first-team players. Hezarkhani returning to RSL last night, played just a minute as a second-half substitute, but players like a Jesus Barea with his 5-goal involvements, Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos with his 7-goal involvements, not available today for this Monarch side. Even a guy like Loka Moisa, who is in the 11 today. Moisa has seen his fair share of opportunities to train with the first team, and that's something that St. Louis have dealt with as well. Yes, a lot of first team involvement today as we get a whistle for a foul, and Owen Anderson puts it back in, but Makai Joyner, as mentioned, only 3 MLS Next Pro appearances, has spent majority of his time on the bench for Jan Dame's side. Seen good action in U.S. Open Cup play as well. Brendan McSorley, Miguel Perez, Tyson Pierce, all faces and names that St. Louis fans came to get accustomed to seeing here with CITY2. They really haven't seen much action for the second team. It's allowed a number of academy players to get significant minutes this year, as well as some of the newcomers. And even some of those newcomers, like a Palmer Alt, have impressed the coaching staff at the first team level so much that they have started to inch their way out of the MLS Next Pro side of this organization. Lillington swings it forward, finds the foot of Makai Joyner. Mentioned the U.S. Open Cup, and specifically on the subject of Makai Joyner. Joyner, a part of that U.S. Open Cup roster for their quarterfinal draw against Houston Dynamo, ended up advancing out of that after finishing all square 2-2 in regulation. Was on the bench for that, 15 minutes as a substitute in that contest. They'll go on to face Colorado Rapids in the U.S. Open Cup semifinals later this year. Joyner also saw 31 minutes against Chicago Fire in the round of 16 and got a start and played all 90 against FC Tulsa out of USL Championship back in the round of 32. Down to those final 4 in the U.S. Open Cup. Have to imagine that Mekhi Joyner will factor in a big way, as well other names like a Brendan McSorley, who were in the team for those contests as well, turned upfield by Real Monarchs. Of course, the U.S. Open Cup means so much history-wise to the city of St. Louis. Here's Kobe Henry, product of the Orlando City and Inter Miami academies, before going over to Orange County as a 16-year-old. His ball forward intercepted, one back here by Zach Zingay. A good recovery there by Kobe Henry to track back and deflect that pass away from Zingay. Heavy collision. It'll be Alex Junt going into the book, as Kobe Henry, captaining this Monarch side, walks over to Laura Rodriguez and pleads his case that they feel like that should be a stronger card handed out. It is the second booking against St. Louis in this opening half.
A yellow card has been issued to CITY2 number 68, Alex Jones, in the 25th minute.
It's been a physical affair so far here in this opening almost half hour of play. Already 14 combined fouls committed by these teams. And St. Louis, they own the only 2 yellow cards doled out by this officiating crew. And Paro had it taken away from him. Now a late whistle as Laura Rodriguez will charge in. On that subject of fouls and cards and stoppages, with the abundance of stoppages we've seen so far, it has been hard for either one of these teams to really settle in, generate any sort of rhythm or fluidity to their game so far. Match so far in this opening half spent more time in stopped play moments than anything else. Clipped along here for Monarchs, but too much weight behind it. Not a back down by Real Monarchs. Trying to keep it on, and now we get another whistle. Forward, now Junt looking to slide it through. And promptly cleared out of play, or at least toward the touchline. Looked like that was tracking out of play. Kept in by Zenge, though. As a squad, this Monarchs team, they right near the bottom in MLS Next Pro in terms of successful clearances per match this year. Had some struggles just wrapping their foot around that ball and booting things down the pitch to take the pressure off, and that has coincided with the recent turn of some difficult results. 3 losses, a draw, and a win represents their 5-match form entering this. Ewald will come up with it now. DeGero tries to start and stop here on Sidney Paris. Tracks all the way back to win it. Space to move for Tyson Pierce, who gets it forward over to Mekhi Joyner, and he will have a throw. And at the last minute, Laura Rodriguez says, in fact, it is a Monarchs throw, which finds the feet of Omar Marquez. 54th appearance in a Monarch shirt with his start tonight. It's been a real stalemate so far. Defense has been the theme of the contest. Neither side with a shot on target, and the possession split even as we come up on that half-hour mark elapsed. Here's Zenge. Works it along. Paris had it on the flank, instead cuts inside. Perez zigzags it back wide. DeGans now. Clipped in behind. Running onto it is St. Louis, and Palmer Alt is rifled across the top of the area. Lillington works it back ahead. And now DeGans will reset things back to Zach Lillington. DeGans funnels it along that interior channel, looking for Sidney Paris again. That's been their go-to option for St. Louis in this opening half, trying to work it along to him. Moisa nearly gave it up, now does, as Miguel Perez will come up with it. Pass was telegraphed. Jumping in front of it was Chris Rios. Monarchs had been protesting for a foul. DeGero went down, as did Rios. And then a delayed whistle does sound from Laura Rodriguez. David Critchley looking on. 13 wins in his MLS Next Pro career. Took over on a full-time basis at the start of last year for St. Louis CITY2, and then at the first team level, a managerial change saw Critchley move up for the final 5 months as their interim manager. Kerkvliet under some duress, looking to lift that one forward. Ewald had it for a moment, takes a ricochet off our center referee, and she will whistle for a stoppage. Play will resume off the drop ball, and it will be CITY2's ball here. For the switch, and St. Louis find it. Couldn't find Joyner in behind, though. Masalis able to pick Makai Joyner's pocket. Lifted upfield. DeGero runs onto it. Steps past one. Couldn't beat Sidney Paris. He will pick the pieces up, though, for Monarchs. When Anderson committing the foul, and that is a good summation of what we've seen so far in this opening over half hour now. It has been somewhat of a sloppy, inefficient contest for both these teams at this point. It does have that vibe of a real feeling out process between St. Louis and Real Monarchs. I mentioned earlier, this is the first matchup of the season. We are to that point of the year as Zingay, errant giveaway, will roll across that end line, and it will be a Monarchs corner, but we are at that point of the season where teams are starting to see repeat competition. This is one of those rare occurrences, just the way the scheduling matrix always shakes out. This is an area that Monarchs have excelled in this year. One of the top corner goal-scoring teams in MLS Next Pro. 7 goals off corners. Whipped in near post and met by the head of St. Louis. Consecutive corners now here for RSL. Claret and Cobalt go back to the well. Whipped in near post again, and same result. St. Louis will hack it out of play, and Ruben Masalis hoping third time is the charm here for Real Monarchs. Masalis does have the short option in Izzy Amparo to his left. Rodriguez, though, brings a halt to things. Saw some jockeying for positioning in front of Colin Welsh she didn't care for. All that's been squared away. It'll be Masalis to take from this near corner flag. There's a light wind to deal with here in St. Louis. Masalis rolls it back in. Laid off. His cross cut out, but falls right back to him. Amparo touched along. Looking for the link up between Anderson and Masalis. Instead, it caroms to the feet of Zach Zingay, pushing the tempo initially. City, they have the numbers if they move quick. Rolled forward, here's Junt. Junt tries to float it in. Well read. And now steered forward, here's Felix Ewald. Ewald working on that left side, goes to the byline. Just touched it out of play at the last moment. Colin Welsh wasting no time. Here's Colin Welsh, led the American Athletic Conference in saves in 2022 as a freshman during his time at Memphis. Actually played for former MLS midfielder Richard Mulrooney during his time with the Memphis Tigers. Now Kirk Vliet will have it all the way on the other end. Barreling toward the halftime whistle here in St. Louis. Still no score between Monarchs and CITY2 here in Match Week 22 action. This is the only contest still underway around this Sunday in Match Week 22. A nightcap in the Western Conference to come between San Jose Earthquakes and Austin FC2. It's Kobe Henry whiffing on it. Moisa tucks it forward. Here's Felix Ewald. Felix Awalt will stop right in his tracks due to the whistle from our center referee. Appears as though the offside flag had come up from the near assistant referee, just out of frame on the right-hand side of your screen. That's San Jose Earthquakes 2, Austin FC 2 match coming up 9:30 Eastern time to close out a Sunday slate today in match week 22. It should be a fascinating one. San Jose Earthquakes right on the doorstep of cracking the top 8. Minnesota United occupying the final playoff spot. Rolled through, here's Alt. Alt on the near side, turned away from goal, and Henry will just drive that out of play to take the pressure off for a moment. Austin FC 2, meanwhile, they are the Western Conference leaders, but Portland, with their victory earlier this match week, did close that deficit, cut things down to a 1-point deficit. Long toss ahead on this throw toward the final third. Lillington's ball nodded away. Now Alt will collect and steers it over to DeGans, former Atlanta United Academy product. Actually broke through into the professional ranks back in 2022, 2 appearances in USL Championship play, predating the 17's time in MLS Next Pro. Fast forward to this year in Atlanta United, they right now have the Golden Boot leader in Arif Kovac. Zach Zingay, meanwhile, for St. Louis, 4th most goals. There's all of those, the 10 that he has coming during his time in a Columbus Crew shirt. However, Zingay has found ways to impact the matches for St. Louis since coming over. 2 assists in his last 3 appearances. Worked along, here's DeGero. Moisa dropping in very deep on this build-out for Real Monarchs. Up the near touchline. They find DeGero again. Crafty little pass. Able to combine there with Amparo. Amparo's cutback turned away by St. Louis. And it will roll out of play for a throw deep in toward this final third. 40 minutes gone, 5 plus added time to go until we reach the halftime break here in St. Louis, Missouri. Make sure to stick with us. A lot to bring you up to speed on highlights, schedule, as Awalt will chuck it in. Glancing header along to the back post. There is Welsh climbing the ladder, and he will chuck it out quickly, hoping to jumpstart this St. Louis attack. Joyner touched along now. Roll all the way out of play. Joyner making the case that it should be a St. Louis corner, and Laura Rodriguez disagrees. The St. Louis press bears fruit. Now another delayed whistle. CITY2 were ready to play on with it, and instead Zach Zingay will have a free kick over right along this near touchline. Play restarted, rolls it in behind. Paris stands this cross up, falling all the way through, and Joyner won't be able to track it down before it goes out of play. Change of possession will occur via this throw-in. Joyner will have it for St. Louis. Yes, the possession numbers have evened out a little bit as this first half has carried on, but St. Louis have spent a little bit more time in the final third compared to Monarchs. And now here's Palmer Alt, stepping up, rolls it through, it's Paris. Paris peels it back, Perez dodges DeGero. Collides right with the center referee, which will halt things again. Slipped back along. Here's Alt. First, though, there was a whistle, and St. Louis will have the free kick. Miguel Perez and Palmer Alt both pleading for the advantage to get played in that situation. Instead, here's Zingate back into the path of Perez. Zingate touching up once again centrally with St. Louis, and now Moisa will peel it out of that crowd of bodies.
The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of
just 1 minute of added time at the end of this first 45, rather. Monarchs have it on the left wing. Trying to cut it across, looking for Moisa. Perez able to knock it away now. Back down the pitch it goes. Takes a ricochet out of play. And St. Louis will toss it back in, just about 15 seconds away from that halftime whistle. Make sure to stick with us. We'll hear from Matthew Arana from Houston Dynamo Dose as well, in addition to first half highlights, schedules. And there is that halftime whistle from Laura Rodriguez. Nothing separating St. Louis and Real Monarchs through 45 minutes of play. Our score at the half, 0-0. Coming up in our halftime show, it's a Texas two-step, some player profiles plus scores and August schedule, first half highlights and more, all when we come back.
Trying to figure out what sound, don't worry about what next. Just wanna know what's next.
Welcome back to St. Louis. No score through 45, and we head to Houston for this week's player profile. Let's get to know midfielder Matthew Arana.
Born and raised in Rocheron, Texas, Houston Dynamo homegrown midfielder Matthew Arana is proud to represent the Bayou City.
Matthew Arana, goalkeeper at the mercy of the finish.
Arana picks it up, 2 defenders in front of him, and stings the back post.
I feel really great. I was born and raised there. No one would ever thought a kid from Rocheron would be pro at 15 years old. And I feel amazing to be able to represent Houston, where I'm from.
Arana joined the Dynamo Academy at 11 from his local club Rise SC and quickly climbed the ranks.
I was playing like a year up already. I was already used to it, but it was like a different level still because there was other kids that I never knew that came to this team and they were all really good, so I started off a little bit slow, but I started getting used to it and then I went up the ranks.
From Houston, getting the first Dream Academy. At 15 years, 5 months, 24 days of age, the youngest first-team signing in club history. 15!
I felt amazing. I was ready. I was praying, hoping my name would get called and I could step on the field. When I got there, we did the warm-ups and stuff like that. And I was warming up and we had 1 sub left and I was the last one. I was like, hopefully my name gets called. And when I went in, honestly, it's a feeling I can't explain how I felt, but it was amazing. And playing against a player like Son, I never thought I would watch him. When I was younger, I never thought we'd be playing against him. It was really beautiful.
As Arana developed through the academy, his next step with Dynamo Dos continues to push his game forward.
Arana likes what he sees. Oh my goodness!
It helps me a lot, get minutes in. And obviously this team is still high level. There's a high level of the whole league, and it helps me get minutes so I could prepare for when my time comes with the first team.
He has some really unique qualities to his game that are tough to teach and not many players have. His ability to protect the ball, to be deceptive, to dribble out of situations.
I think the level is just high. And every day you gotta be consistent if you wanna get minutes. You gotta work hard. It's tough because I'm like a young player, but I think I'm getting used to the level and hopefully I could get more minutes in soon.
I love Matthew. He's one of my really close friends. We went through the academy together. We've been with each other through a really young age, and playing on the field with him is amazing. He's a really good player, obviously. All I have to do is pass him the ball, and he'll get us to the other side of the field, dribbling through players.
His performances in his hometown have opened the door for Arana to represent Mexico at the youth level.
2 years ago, like March, they sent my Dynamo an email and told me that they were gonna invite me to a camp, and I didn't believe it. I was like, it felt amazing. It means a lot to me representing my roots, where I'm from, and my family, and it's a great experience over there. I got number 10 the first time. I was like, it felt beautiful experience for me. When I went over there, I was a little nervous. That was my first time going to Mexico, but the coaches and the players were all really nice, and it felt like a family as soon as I got there.
Through it all, he hopes to make his family proud after all they've done to get him here.
A lot of sacrifices, taking me to all the far tournaments before, because I can't drive yet. They take me here every morning early, and yeah, I really appreciate what they do for me.
My name is Nathaniel James. You can call me Natty James. I'm a striker / winger from Trinidad and Tobago. I grew up in a place called La Hocata Rima. I grew up in the east side of the island. I started in a club nearby named FC Santa Rosa, and that's where I started playing football. My father, he saw that I had my shoes were always dirty after school and stuff, and when I came home one day, I was like, I want to start to play football, and he was like, you want to start to play football? So my father was actually the one who started carrying me out on the field, started passing, kicking, running, teaching me running techniques, everything. Then he got me into football because he used to play as well. After that, I just started playing, and I've been playing ever since. I was in Jablote, and I was playing youth football there. So at that time, I got selected for the under-15 national team. At the time, I was just so happy just to play and just to be around this environment, and I was just so excited for my future and what I could do, and yeah, it's been going good so far. I remember actually getting called to train when I was 15 as well. So I was training with the national team since I was like 15. And then I made my professional debut when I was 18. And then I made my competitive debut when I was 19. It was against Jamaica in Jamaica. You know, I came on, played like 15 minutes. I was so nervous. It was good though, it was good. I came on, had some nice touches, played really well, played as a striker. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And my first competitive debut, I actually scored in it. You know, so I came on for like 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes of the game, and scored the winning goal. And it was in a CONCACAF Nations League game. Yeah, it was one of the best feelings I've had in my life. When I was younger, I used to take a lot from different players. I think Messi and then Neymar were the two players that I would always look up to, like just watching football, because I was supported Barcelona when I was younger. And when I was like 15, like I started playing as like a cam, like a number 10. So I started watching like Dybala, and I wanted to be just like Dybala. I wanted to play like him, same left foot, same. I just wanted to move and play like him. So I think Dybala, you know, I already did my research, see what it was all about, not Texas or whatever. And then I had a meeting with Coach Gall. John, he gave me a call. It was like everything I ever wanted. He just told me about everything. He was like talking about the new stadium, Mansfield, showing me how good it's gonna be, the environment, and I just fell in love immediately. And I knew that I wanted to be here. I wanted to like put my best foot forward for this opportunity, and I've been trying my best. I've been giving my best every day, so I just want to continue that. From the first day I came here, I was like, I just want to play well, play good. I want to score, I want to assist, I want to help the team in any way possible, you know. So as of right now, my goal is just to help the team make playoffs and see how good we can do this season, see how far we can go. And I think we have a really good shot.
We're halfway home in St. Louis, Missouri. No score between CITY2 and Real Monarchs through 45 minutes of play. Plenty of action in and around MLS Next Pro that has taken place and will take place. Match week 22, just about 8 matches remaining as we take a look at our recent scores. And you look last night capping things off, Cascadia Clash, Tacoma Defiance getting a 4-2 win against Vancouver Whitecaps 2. Portland Timbers 2, alluded to this earlier in our first half in the Western Conference. They were able to cut that deficit between themselves and Austin FC down to just 1 point. And then, how about Sporting Kansas City 2? A huge win over Houston Dynamo Dose. St. Louis City here in just about 4 matches time. We'll see Houston Dynamo Dose. A lot of action that has taken place here in match week 22. A ton of compelling results in the Western Conference. And this Western Conference race has become so tight. When we talked about Austin FC with the 44 points, Portland Timbers up to 43, Houston Dynamo at 42, and as we take a look at our upcoming schedule, the action will resume next Saturday, getting things started out on the West Coast. Portland Timbers and LAFC will do battle. This St. Louis side, they will be in action on the road in the nightcap that night, a 9 p.m. Eastern time kickoff between St. Louis and Colorado Rapids. That Western Conference race, as mentioned, just getting ever so tight between first through fourth. Right now, only 6 points separating those teams. We'll head back to break. Second half when we return to St. Louis.
been issued to Real Monarchs number 64, Dylan Crump. In the 49th minute.
and put that ball in the back of the net. 51st minute for Zach Zenge, opening his St. Louis account. So at long last, we have offense here in this contest. But one thing that has carried over from the opening half is the physicality, the number of whistles we've seen. RSL handed a yellow here in this second half. St. Louis were issued 3 yellow cards in the opening 45 as that ricochets to the feet of Sidney Paris. Zenge now trying to carve things open. Junt looking to clip it along. Slip through. Here's Owen Anderson. Monarchs don't have the numbers. Anderson pushing the tempo anyway. Steps past one. Anderson lifts that into the seats. And that will end the opportunity for Monarchs. David Critchley had described this match as a crucial juncture of the season for St. Louis, getting closer to that playoff time as they'll work it along here to Joyner on the right. Joyner cutting to that left, parried away by Kirkfleet. David Critchley, going back to our conversation, he classified this as a crucial juncture of the season. Over their last 5 matches, just 1 point taken. And he said the most important thing for us right now is finding performances where we're hitting the right momentum at the right time down the stretch of the season. He acknowledges that, yes, MLS Next Pro is about development, but also it's a wins and losses game at every level of football. You want to try to get those performances right, develop players, but also get the results in tow as well. Here's Felix Ewald. Ewald's cut back, finds Anderson muscled down. Kept on by Masalas. Ball played through by Riquelme, the second half substitute. Intercepted by St. Louis. Joyner goes down, and Anderson wins it back. Monarchs trying to counter. Defender got the lines wrong on the clearance, and it'll stay here for a Monarchs throw in. Mark Lowry pleading for a whistle for a handball, not going to get it. Threaded ahead, here's Riley Lynch. Quakes 2-man. Lynch. Good find on the late arrival at Sidney Paris on the left. Paris, his service, headed toward goal by Riley Lynch, but whiskers wide of that near stick and out of play. You're starting to see this contest open up more for St. Louis. That is one of the benefits of this 3-4-3 shape. The fluid movement helps you transition so quickly from defense to offense. St. Louis, throughout the course of their history in MLS Next Pro, been one of the most deadly transitional teams, and that's carried over even this year with 5 counterattacking goals, 7 goals scored overall in transitional phases of the game in 2026. Something, that transitional element of St. Louis's game, that Mark Lowry picked out when I chatted with him earlier in the week, the Real Monarchs coach, as that'll trickle all the way back to the feet of Colin Welsh. He really complimented St. Louis for some of the tweaks they've made, especially over the last few weeks. He said, especially their first team, I really love how that organization just plays. He said he knows Yohan Dame very well, understands what St. Louis wants to do, kind of build from the back at times, but build with short, quick passes. Monarchs, they have been able at times, as we see right now, pinning St. Louis back, able to take away some of that ability to build with these short, quick balls. Paris, though, will pull that ball in. Give and go. Back to Sidney Paris. Right up the gut comes the Canadian. Takes a tumble. This will be a yellow and a free kick. Now Omar Marquez having words with Laura Rodriguez. This sets St. Louis up with a set piece here in this attacking half, and St. Louis, one of the more deadly set piece teams in MLS Next Pro this year. They have just one free kick goal, but 5 total set piece goals. They also are the #1 team in MLS Next Pro in creating set pieces in the final third. We come up on the hour mark. David Critchley said that undoubtedly one of the reasons that they excel in their set piece game this year is the fact they dedicate so much time in training each week. The mentality of this coaching staff is they want to give these players the schematics and then allow them to take that and have some free reign with it. Zingay drives this out wide, catches the head of a Monarchs defender. Corralled in by Lynch, the team's leading chance creator with 7 assists this year. Zingay turning, trying to thread it back through to him, and they do. We have a prep touch, though, for Zach Zingay, rather, and that will draw a whistle as he collides in with the defender. Here's Leonel DeGero. In that first half, DeGero is really the lone offensive catalyst for Monarchs. And their only shot. Rolled ahead. Riquelme finds Anderson, who scuffs it wide. One of those that Owen Anderson will want to have back. You get in that close to goal, you need to put that on the target and try to test Colin Welsh. They find Lynch ahead. Lynch pass picked out by Monarchs, and now they'll transition back into the attack. Here's Anderson. Cut that ball diagonally, cut out by St. Louis. Lynch trying to force the issue on Omar Marquez, and Riley Lynch will be shown a whistle. 53 career appearances, 22 goal involvements for 48 in Navy. Former teammate of his, Chance Cowell, available for selection on the bench today for this Real Monarchs side. CITY2's press causing some issues now. Zingay initiated that, won it back, but his pass intercepted by Masalas. Racing up from that outside back spot, leading the charge. Here's Anderson. Some options here. Anderson going for goal. Takes a deflection out of play. It'll stay here, though, for a Monarchs corner. Ruben Masalas will trigger this in from the far corner flag, and he really was the man who set this entire spell of possession up. Read that ball well, jumping in front of the pass to Makai Joyner, carrying it all the way down before feeding Owen Anderson. 7 corner goals this year for the visitors from Sandy, Utah. Masalas swings it in. Punched away by Colin Welsh. Joyner probing ball ahead, turned upfield. Running onto it is Palmer Alt. Here's Alt. Alt rolls it toward goal and pushed out of play by Kirk Lee. I mentioned earlier the ability in this 3-4-3 shape for St. Louis to transition from defense to offense quickly. A booming punt forward by Makai Joyner, and just like that, St. Louis able to tilt the field in their favor. Now they head to the corner where they have had recent success. Ventura County, a few matches ago, their second goal came off a corner. Tacoma Defiance, a handful of matches ago, their second goal came off a corner. Had a goal off a corner against Vancouver. Speaking of goals, the man set to take this corner, Zach Zingate. His goal, the only one so far. They go the short route and feed it back to him. Zengate's service, headed down, it trickles in! Welcome back to City 2. Miguel Perez grabbing his first goal of 2026, and St. Louis cruising at home 2-0. The 11th of his next pro career, a pinpoint service from Zach Zingate, who now has a 2-goal contribution night. It took some time, but St. Louis, they have found their way through this Monarchs defense. And now the deficit grows for the visitors from the Wasatch Front. During that break in play, St. Louis will elect to make another change as Patrick McDonald, the former 59th overall pick by Toronto FC, will trot on, trying to help anchor this result for St. Louis. 2 goals in this second half now for City 2, blowing things open. 13 minutes apart. It was Zengate striking in the 51st as Anderson has it. Finds Marquez. Miguel Perez in the 64th minute off the assist from Zengate. DeGero goes to the end line, lifts it in. Parried away by Welsh. Alex Junt coming off for St. Louis. Alex Junt, just 17 years old. Former St. Louis Scott Gallagher Academy man. 6th start he made today.
The assist to number 91, Zach Zang. In the 66th minute, City 2 goals scored by Miguel Perez. City 2 substitution.
Masalis will cycle it over. So an Anderson. Anderson, the Colorado native, homegrown for the RSL organization. Masalis again. Marquez elects to reset. Kobe Henry now trying to change the point of the attack, and does. The offside flag is going to come up, though. The frustration continuing to mount for the visitors. Real Monarchs staring down a 2-0 deficit after keeping it 0-0 through 45 minutes of play, and they will make their second change of the day. Nicolas Silva will come on. Lionel DeGero, acquired at the beginning of the year on the loan from the professional ranks in the United Arab Emirates, will come off. Both teams still with 3 changes remaining. Long ball ahead. That'll find Riley Lynch. Lynch is in. Lynch going for, and Lynch slips it wide. Navy shirts of St. Louis will pile into the area, though. Riley Lynch able to win another corner for City 2. Just the second corner of the day for St. Louis, who back in the 64th minute ultimately grabbed their 5th corner goal of 2026. Zinga slips it in off that set piece out wide. Falls right back to Paris. Second ball served in. Alt couldn't snug that end line, and it'll spill out of play, where Max Kirkvliet will have the goal kick. Mark Lowry was pretty effusive in his praise earlier in the week when we chatted, about Max Kirkvliet as Monarchs try to build something here. Diving header back down by St. Louis. And now Riley Lynch will be shown a whistle. But Mark Lowry, he said that Max Kirkvliet's done a really good job. He's really developed this year. Said he's almost an entirely different goalkeeper between last year and this year. They knew that he had the shot-stopping prowess, but they feel like he's made some significant progress in that regard. The one thing they want to see more from him is be a better communicator, and you see some of that on the 64th minute goal off the corner. You can tell that defensively, Monarchs, just based on the nature of that goal conceded, weren't properly set. It's areas like that that Mark Lowry have just challenged their 20-year-old from England to step up in a bigger way, but still, they've loved the performances of Max Kirkvliet in 2026. Meanwhile, here's Owen Anderson, leaves it off. Ewald, dispossessed. Felix Ewald signed at the start of this year, one of a number of newcomers for this Monarch side. He'll have the long throw in toward this final third. Former Temple and West Virginia man at the NCAA level. Ewald, long chuck in toward the 6, ricocheting around, chested down initially, not clear, fired toward goal and saved. Now hammered away from danger by St. Louis, but worked back down by Monarchs. Clarendon Cobalt working on that outside. It's Silva able to earn a free kick here. Monarch side, they're not taking their foot off the gas pedal, pushing for a lifeline here late in this contest. They'll have a sharp angle free kick, can almost treat this like a corner. Monarchs will survey their options around here, over on that far side of the pitch. Floated in across the face of goal, but we get a whistle. Been in some regards an inordinate amount of whistles in this contest, specifically in that first half, up to 34 combined fouls. And Monarchs starting to wear some of that frustration on their face as this contest carries on. You look at some of the underlying numbers for this Monarch side right now. 113 of their 306 passes completed in the St. Louis half of things. Yet, they have just 5 shots and none on target, only 13 touches in the penalty area. A narrow advantage in possession they haven't been able to make much happen from. And now St. Louis will break out from their end. Negotiating for space. On the move now, it's Palmer Alt. Alt lifts it over. Here's Joyner, wants to cut to the left. Joyner skies that. Seats behind Max Kirkvliet.
CITY2 substitution, leaving the game number 43, Sidney Paris. Entering the game number 79, Emiliano Chavez. In the 75th minute.
Third change of the day used by David Critchley. You heard the public address man say it, Emiliano Chavez will come on. Sidney Paris will leave. And Sidney Paris, ever so productive on the left side of that middle four for David Critchley. 52 touches, generated 2 chances, had 6 defensive contributions, 3 touches in the penalty area. Another strong day at the office for the 23-year-old Sidney Paris, former Toronto FC Chicago Fire Academy man. Speaking of Chicago Fire, they were in action today out in the Eastern Conference, a shellacking they handed FC Cincinnati. Jason shook a look in his return to MLS Next Pro play, grabbing a hat trick in that one. It's been a big scoring weekend for a lot of teams around MLS Next Pro. This ball rolled through out of the reach of Palmer Alt. Well defended there by Kobe Henry. In the Western Conference, Ventura County on Friday night put 6 on North Texas. Marquez left that pass short, knocks it out of play. Makai Joyner will have the throw. Inside the final 15 plus stoppage time to go here in St. Louis, Missouri. City 2 in charge right now, courtesy of goals from Miguel Perez, Zach Zingate, 13 minutes apart in this contest. Worked back down. Masalis went down, and the appeals for a foul will go unanswered. Should this result hold for St. Louis, it would be their first win since May 30th, a 2-0 win over North Texas here at Energizer Park. From May 2nd to today, St. Louis have only picked up 1 win in that span. Did have a draw against Minnesota United where they earned a point, took a point away from LAFC, 2 points with a shootout win against Rapids 2, and then fell in the shootout last match. But most definitely has been a season of change for St. Louis. A chance to catch up with David Critchley on numerous occasions, and he's talked so much about some of the difficulties that this City 2 side have had. They've had players leave the second team environment like Palmer Alt, who does come back in today and gets the start so far going the distance to this juncture. They've had players like Cooper Forcellini that they have not been able to have the pleasure of having in their team for a large chunk of the season. Same thing with Jack Wagner, as Izzy Amparo will come off. Lincoln Ream, the U.S. U17 national teamer, will race onto the pitch for his 10th appearance this season. But going back to St. Louis, it has forced them to try to figure things out a little bit on the fly. They've tinkered with shapes and formations. Large stretches of the year played in this 3-4-3, emulating what the first team does, but at times they've gone back to one of Critchley's strengths a season ago, which was that 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot, just trying to find what works best for this club. But they've also done it by highlighting some of their highly productive academy products, like a Uota, who grabbed his first career goal against Austin FC a few weeks ago. Julian Nwankwo has started matches. Adetiye Gabatahan has started contests for St. Louis. Alex Junt today getting the start as well. Players like Emiliano Chavez trying to become that next batch of St. Louis City 2 players to perhaps graduate up to the first team environment. Another whistle for a stoppage. That whistle will go against St. Louis. You talk about some of that learning that goes into this recent stretch of play for City 2. And one of those things that David Critchley had said this week when reflecting on the match against Vancouver, he said that the biggest lesson this team needs to learn is we have to start putting teams away when we can. They're doing that today to this juncture. Still, though, this Monarchs team, nothing's come easy for St. Louis. They have taken City 2 to the brink as we come up on the 80th minute. Goal and an assist today for Zingate. He finds Lynch, whose shot deflected, right back to him, shoveled over, off the woodwork and out. Perez had his eyes on a second. Now a whistle will halt play. Some of those up and down results, some of those growing pains that I just mentioned that St. Louis have had to experience this year are sentiments that Mark Lowry and Real Monarchs relate very much to. One of the things that Mark Lowry said, that sort of the beauty but also the pain of MLS Next Pro is there is a level of suffering that goes into it as they'll play it over. Zengay leaves it off. It's all clipped toward goal. Goes wide of the empty net, but it'll stay on this end for a City 2 corner. Back to Mark Lowry, though. He said sometimes you don't always have your top players, your tools you need. I mentioned that earlier in the first half, where it's players like an Aiden Hezerkani who get to appear this year. Players like a Loco Moiso, who's been in and out of the first team. Monica Rodriguez, Jesus Barea, both not with this team today. Rodriguez saw 45 minutes last night against St. Louis in MLS action. Service across goal, headed high. Jorgensen trying to get a piece of it. Instead it falls out wide. Here's Joyner. Monarchs bully Joyner off the ball, but it won't matter. St. Louis will have the throw. For Monarchs, despite some of the struggles they've had this year, you talk to folks around the organization of RSL and Real Monarchs as that goes deflecting off the corner flag, and it will stay here for a City 2 throw. They do feel like the future is bright for this club. You look, the MLS All-Star, the MLS Next All-Star game that just took place. Easton Wilson, Kellen Pohl, both 2010s out of the RSL academies, thrown back in by St. Louis, named MLS Next All-Stars. Easton Wilson scored the only goal for the West in that 6-1 rout at the hands of the Eastern Conference. And Mark Lowry did say that both those players are on the radar of this coaching staff. Feels like they're maybe a couple months to a year away from being ready to break through at this juncture with this Monarch side, but Mark Lowry, he was definitive. He said the next batch of players coming in over the next 6 to 12 months from our academy side, they really are the next era of this club. Floated back post off the half volley. Back toward goal by Chavez. Didn't get enough of it. Silva has to double back. Floated along now for Riquelme. Riquelme's ball in behind. Left a bit wanting there, and that is where Colin Welsh will just pluck things off the natural grass. Oh, and Jorgensen is down, grabbing at his right foot. And Laura Rodriguez takes notice of that and will whistle for a stoppage. Meanwhile, Monarchs will make another change. This will be substitution number 4 on the night.
Substitutions for
Luis Rivera will come on.
57,
Chris Rios will come off.
Entering in number 44, Chance Cowell. Also leading in number 77, Ruben Salas. He is replaced by number 37, Luis Rivera.
Chance Cowell will come on as well as Ruben Masala's evening is done. So substitutions 4 and 5 for Mark Lowry. Monarchs are officially out of changes. Still time left here perhaps for Real Monarchs to peg a goal back in this contest, make things a little interesting. If this result holds, St. Louis would move points-wise tied with Tacoma Defiance for that 6th position, just one off of LAFC. It's not out of the question that if City 2 could get a couple results put together here toward the end of the year, that they could work themselves into that conversation of perhaps a top 4 seed where you would get to host a home contest and be part of that pick your opponent process in MLS Next Pro play. Play resumes back off the drop ball. Right now, 8 points separating St. Louis and Ventura County, who is that 4th and final team in the top 4 of the Western Conference. And speaking of not out of the question, well, Monarchs, they are only 3 points back right now of a playoff spot. Now, they do have some difficult contests coming up. 3 of their next 4 teams they will face after tonight above them in the standings. It's Houston Dynamo, the 3rd place team on the road. You get Minnesota United at home, who's in 8th right now, and then Tacoma Defiance, who just hung 4 on Vancouver Whitecaps in the Cascadia Cup last night. Perhaps the most interesting race that will shake out the rest of the way in the Western Conference is who ends up finishing at the top spot. Portland Timbers just 1 back of Austin FC2. Verdos, they have been one of the stingiest defenses in MLS Next Pro all year, just 17 goals conceded. St. Louis did bring off Owen Jorgensen, and Stone Marion comes on. Booming ball in behind. Kirk Vliet is there. Defender got it wrong, though. Kirk Vliet caught in no man's land, and it's just rolled in to make it 3 for St. Louis. The cherry on top for Riley Lynch and City 2, punctuating a dominant day at the office. 3-0. Riley Lynch off the bench and on the score sheet for the 4th time in 2026. A player that, going all the way back to the start of the season, David Critchley said, brings so much in the way of intensity to the training environment, leads by example for this club. They can show players like him, like a Patrick McDonald, the young players, the way to do it. Somewhat of a unique situation with Lynch coming off the bench today, but with so much first team involvement for St. Louis City too. And now St. Louis will make 2 more changes. Stone Marion on, Adete Agabatahan also on. Both Owen Jorgensen and Miguel Perez, their evenings are finished. Kobe Henry during the melee of all of that getting shown a yellow. 3 goals from 3 different goal scorers for St. Louis City 2 today. Another yellow will come out of the pocket of Laura Rodriguez. David Critchley's message this week, put teams away when we have the opportunity to do so. They didn't have many opportunities in the first half to put Monarchs away. St. Louis held scoreless and with no shots on target 45 minutes in. There's a chance Cowell will go into the book, but this has been a much different 45 than the initial opening half that we saw.
A yellow card caution has been issued to Real Monarchs number 3, Kobe Joseph.
Booted back down by Colin Welsh as play back underway. Initial indication is 4 minutes of stoppage time. We'll wait to see what the official ruling is from our 4th official, Lucas Cross.
City 2 substitutions, leaving in number 28, Miguel Perez.
Those two changes for St. Louis with Stone Marion and Detier Gabatahan coming on. Now City 2 are out of changes, and they have their eyes perhaps on a fourth goal here. Kobe Henry with other ideas, though. Intercepted by McDonald.
The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum
4 minutes confirmed from Lucas Cross, our fourth official, of stoppage time. Monarchs going direct here and behind. They've had success this year at playing direct. 3 goals scored off direct balls over the top. But in terms of offensive options going forward, there have not been many. Only 1 shot on target for Mark Lowry's side. They'll play 2 of their next 4 matches after this away from home at Houston Dynamo Dos, who earlier in the week loaned out Pedro Cruz, their starting goalkeeper the last few seasons, who partook in goalie wars at the MLS All-Star Game, was the champion of it last year, loaned him out to the USL Championship in El Paso Locomotive for the remainder of the season. Looking for Riquelme back through. Chavez will clear it away. It's a goal clearance given to Colin Welsh. And no sooner than Houston Dynamo Dos loan Pedro Cruz out, they suffer a 3-2 loss at the hands of Sporting Kansas City 2 on Friday evening. As for St. Louis, they will hit the road for 2 consecutive matches before getting a chance to return home on the 23rd of this month, where they'll welcome Houston Dynamo and North Texas in consecutive matches. It's road fixtures at Colorado, at San Jose. Riquelme across the face of goal. Lillington was there, able to knock it out of play, and it'll be a late corner here, halfway gone in stoppage time. Riquelme, out swinging ball, headed to that back post. Got a piece of it, still not free of the area. Knocked over into the path of Gabatahan. Cowell will pounce on it. Now Cowell! Colin Welsh answers the bell once again. His second save of the day. Like it'll be a day of firsts here for St. Louis. First potential clean sheet, just about 45 seconds away from the full-time whistle since May 30th, which also coincides with their first win in this recent run of play. Turned upfield, on it is Anderson. Threaded through, Riquelme turning, edge of the area. Back centrally, Marquez. Joining things is Henry, and sails that one high. This Monarchs team, the winless stretch of play away will extend to 6 matches. The losing streak will continue 3 consecutive. And there it is, the full-time whistle. It is all over in St. Louis, Missouri. For the first time since the final week of May, St. Louis City 2 are back in the win column. A comprehensive win, 3-0 over Real Monarchs. All made possible by that man. Opened the scoring in the 51st minute, giving St. Louis a lead they would never relinquish, assisting on the goal that doubled the advantage. Zach Zinge is your player of the match, presented by Adidas. and St. Louis are riding high ahead of a 2-match road trip. Their first win and first clean sheet since late May. They win it 3-0 over Real Monarchs to run their win total to 8 on the year. For our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew, I'm Jake Griffith. Don't forget you can watch MLS Next Pro all season long at MLSNextPro.com and OneFootball. Good night from the Show Me State.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.